All right, I wanted to mention something that something we all have been familiar with because we've had front row seats watching this incredibly criminal soap opera and this incredibly criminal cast of characters in the Donald Trump saga for the past 6-7 years. Yes, it's driving me crazy. Yes, I know it's driving you crazy. Yes, I know we'd like to never have heard the name Donald Trump ever and would certainly like to not hear it in the future. But the saga goes on, and it's probably going to go on until Donald Trump drops dead. You know, I've said that before. I don't see how at this point, Donald Trump can be removed from the collective consciousness, political and cultural, in this country until he dies. And even then, it'll probably go on as the tales and legends of various American criminals and thugs and bums have lived long after they have stepped off this mortal coil. Having said all that, as you know, as has been reported in the news this week, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office has indicated to Donald Trump's lawyers that Donald Trump could face soon criminal charges. Haven't we heard this before? Over and over and over again. But this slippery bastard, you know, when you're a criminal, a grifter to the degree that Trump is, you know, he's never been charged with murder or bank robbery or securities fraud or something that would bring the feds down on him like white on rice. What he's been charged with is, in the case of the Manhattan District Attorney's Office, he's been charged, in a roundabout way, with paying money to a sex worker and then keeping her quiet, paying more money from his campaign fund to keep her quiet as he ran for president, and then not listing that as a campaign expense on his federal election forms. And therefore he has committed, are you ready? A misdemeanor. Unless the Manhattan District Attorney can tie this to some other crime, then it would become a felony. So, this bullshit about the woman to whom Trump paid the money and then paid to be quiet, this has loomed over the orange vomit for nearly 5 years now. It's just... Oh my God. Am I laughing because it's funny? No. Am I laughing because why? Well, it's either giggle like an idiot here or start screaming and throwing shit around the studio. And the Daniel Scapin studio is not designed to have things thrown around inside of it. So it comes out a giggle. So the information that the Manhattan District Attorney, that is Alvin Bragg, has notified Trump's lawyers, hey, we may have your boy come in and testify before the grand jury, or at least subpoena him, which is an indication, according to people in the legal circles, that they're about to indict him. He is the target of the indictment, and usually in these hearings before a grand jury that is empowered to issue indictments, the last witness they call before an indictment is issued is the witness who is the target of the investigation to begin with. But the revelation that Mr. Bragg has told Trump's attorneys to get their boy ready, it also raises a number of questions about what is this case against Trump going to be? This is the part that drives me crazy. You and I both know in our hearts that Trump is a criminal, a grifter, a cheat, a liar, and he's done more destruction to this country than anybody since, Robert E. Lee or Jefferson Davis or the British in the War of 1812. It's hard to find a parallel to the damage that Trump has done, because most of the damage has not been against soldiers or against people in cities where bombs have fallen and artillery has gone off. Trump's destruction has been much more insidious. The son of a bitch has gotten inside the minds of tens of millions of Americans with his lies and his slipperiness. And that has caused a full-out frontal assault on democratic ideas in this country. Now, we can make the case that the democratic ideas laid out in our Constitution haven't been fulfilled, and we should continue to work toward that end, but we should use the means provided in the Constitution. We shouldn't use those means, as the Trump bastard is, to destroy the Constitution and consequently this republic. Blah, blah, blah. So how is this bastard going to be charged? What is the shape of the charge against him? Well, to really put this on the level that the Manhattan District Attorney's Office has put it, it seems to just put the whole thing into the muck and the slime down where the Fox sewer broadcasters reside. Because Alvin Bragg has focused on Trump's involvement in the payment of hush money to a porn star who said she had an affair with him. I mean, that's it. This is the charge against this rapacious son of a bitch who wants to destroy the country? And as we all know now, Michael Cohen, poor old Michael Cohen, Trump's fixer, made the payment to the porn star during the final days of the 2016 presidential campaign in order to keep her quiet. This is it, huh? Now, the facts of the case, as just about any publication will tell you, the facts are dramatic. Oh my God, look, a porn star, money, hush payments. What about his wife and kids? Oh, none of that matters. The guy's going to be president. The case against Trump would, according to the New York Times, probably hinge on a complex interplay of laws. And if we're all going to sit around with abated breath waiting for a conviction of this bastard on these charges, you might want to find something better to do with your time. Like maybe, I don't know, knitting an Afghan, or if you live on the West Coast, northern part of the West Coast, get out there and shovel the snow off your roof. But here's what we know and what we don't know about the longest running investigation into Trump. And that's another part of this whole saga that really, I guess the word is upsets me, that the longest running investigation of this criminal, this bum, this destroyer, this ignoramus, the longest running investigation of this son of a bitch has to do with his paying hush money to a porn star. Which to me speaks volumes about the fragility of our legal system, where it concerns someone like Trump, and you can make the argument that he's unique, but someone like Trump who has the persona, the attitude, the viciousness, the money to fight tooth and nail. How many times did he try to prove that the election was stolen in a court of law? 60? How many times did the court say, get the hell out of here? 60? But to someone like Trump, who has the power to get inside people's heads, people who are very, very, very ignorant, stupid, and willing to give themselves over to a creep like this, all of that works together to make Trump as impossible to indict and convict as anybody else could possibly be. But the Manhattan District Attorney says, nah, we're very close. Okay. The reason I bring this up is because over this weekend, and I wouldn't be surprised by the time you hear this, Friday night, This is Friday late afternoon, but Friday night, I wouldn't be surprised if the indictment had been issued for Trump. But here's how it all began. Dun, dun, dun. In October of 2016, during the final weeks of the presidential campaign, Stormy Daniels, the porn star, was trying to sell her story to, a tabloid publication about her affair with the filthy pig Donald Trump. And according to Times, the first organization contacted by Miss Daniels, I don't know, a publicity manager or whatever, was the National Enquirer. And they got in touch with the National Enquirer to offer exclusive rights to her story. And that publication's publisher is a guy named, honest to God, David Pecker. He's a longtime ally of Donald Trump. And he had agreed with the Orange Vomit to look out for potentially damaging stories about him during the campaign when Trump was trying to convince the Christian fascists in this country that he was one of them. And he did a good job of doing that. Of course, the Christian fascists will believe anybody who says, well, we got to end abortion. Well, we've got to cut taxes. Well, we have to make sure everybody in this country has a gun. That's all I have to say, those three things, and the Christians will swarm to you like flies around a dung heap. So, the National Enquirer, under the leadership of David Pecker, agreed to buy the story of another woman's affair with Donald Trump and never publish it. Now, that's a practice that we all know now is called catch and kill. Isn't that, you like that? Catch and kill. Catch the story and kill it. But David Pecker didn't purchase Stormy Daniels' story. Instead, he and his newspaper, his scum, filthy rag, the National Enquirer, he and the tabloid's top editor, another guy named Dylan Howard, helped broker a separate deal between Michael Cohen and Stormy Daniels' lawyer. And the deal was that Cohen paid $130,000 to Stormy Daniels, and the Orange Vomit reimbursed him from the White House. Okay, that was in 2016. In 2018, Cohen pleaded guilty to a number of charges. Remember, I felt so sorry for Michael Cohen. I mean, all he was a fixer for one of the most corrupt gangsters since Al Capone. But, poor old Michael, he pled guilty to a number of charges, including federal campaign finance crimes involving the hush money. You can pay a hooker if you want to, or a porn star, or a gambling debt with your campaign money if you want to, but you have to make sure that it goes into your FEC filing. Where the money came from, where the money went. It's just a matter of federal law. But not for the Orange Vomit. He doesn't have to pay any attention to federal laws. He's Donald Jesus Trump. So, when Cohen pleaded guilty to all these charges, including federal campaign finance crimes involving the hush money, the payment, the $130,000, federal prosecutors concluded, amounted to an improper donation to Donald Trump's campaign. Okay. So in the days after Michael Cohen's guilty plea, and remember, he got sentenced to prison. He went to jail. The district attorney's office opened its own criminal investigation into the matter, the Manhattan district attorney. And while the federal prosecutors were focused on Cohen because he's the one who made the payment, the district attorney's office in Manhattan, that investigation was centered on Trump. So what did Trump do wrong? Well, again, referencing the New York Times, when Cohen was pleading guilty in federal court, Cohen pointed the finger at his boss. He said it was Trump who directed him to pay Stormy Daniels. And that was a charge that prosecutors later corroborated. Yes, it absolutely was. So the prosecutors also raised questions about Trump's monthly reimbursement checks to Michael Cohen. So I know you didn't necessarily want to hear all that, but I just felt compelled to fill in the blank spaces, if you have any, about this son of a bitch. It's just astonishing to me that with all the obvious, I'll use the word crimes, that the Orange Vomit has committed, he is just a filthy, subhuman individual with all the garbage and dark undercoating that he's put on this democracy. The best they've got against him right now, right this minute, is paying off a porn star and not reporting it properly. Oy. Hi, Truth Seekers. Mike Malloy here. You know, the Progressive Voices Network brings you commercial-free commentary from today's leading progressive radio hosts and pundits, like me, Mike Malloy, 24 hours a day. I'm not your typical old guy from the 80s or the 90s talk radio host, and Progressive Voices is not your typical talk radio network. It's a listener-supported nonprofit with no corporate control whatsoever over our broadcast. So hosts like me, Mike Malloy, are free to rant and scream and carry on about whatever we like. We're often controversial, but we're never boring. Weeknights, 9 p.m. in the East, 6 p.m. in the West on the Progressive Voices Network. Always progressive, always on. I'm Mike Malloy. Keep it lit.